Um, that was a little bit more weight than what a Ranger was supposed to be hauling. So, but anyway, I spent I don't know a couple of years restoring her, and now she's a lot of fun. We do parades, local events. I drive her on the road to local stuff. Um, in parades, she's a candy throwing machine. So we have a lot of fun.
I bet you Mac, and them youngins probably enjoy it quite a bit too. But seeing, unfortunately, we know many of them, our vets from World War II era, are kind of starting to head on to the good Lord. But
Mm.
seeing and talking to them men that were actually there
Yeah,
and were a part of that equipment, I imagine that's a blessing in itself. There,
yeah. Those guys, like you say, are very rare. They quit using half tracks in the probably in the mid '50s and moved on to more something uh, better, stronger, faster. Um, I did talk to one gentleman that was in the army in the mid '50s. He was stationed out in the out west, and that was back when we were doing a lot of nuclear testing out in the deserts. And he was assigned to a half track back then, and got to talk to him. And I noticed that I was at a local show called Glory Days, which is a big tractor show where tractors come from all over the state, and they have a tractor pull, and it's a very patriotic event. And I always take the half track and the Jeep over there, but I noticed a gentleman. He was on one of those little scooters that you ride around, and he would pop up and ride around, then he'd disappear, and then he'd come back, and he'd look around, he'd disappear, and finally I caught him when he was over there and talked to him, and sure enough, he was assigned to a half track back in the '50s. So we had a real good chat. He was an amazing guy. But
there we go. Go
we
ahead.
get to um, do a lot of events with the half track and the Jeep. We got one coming up in April at a local middle school. Um, it's a World War II day, and we'll take the half track and the Jeep down there, and they'll take the kids and break them into groups of 20, and the reenactors come in, and other equipment will come in, and the kids will get to go through the different stations, and we get to talk to them about the history of the vehicles, and I let them climb on board and sit in it and get on the machine guns, and all the guns are replicas. If they were real guns, I wouldn't be able to go on school grounds and do this kind of stuff. So it's a lot less heartburn to have replica guns, but they look like the real thing. But we have a lot of fun going to those events and letting kids climb on board and actual touch history, and talk to them about it, because it seems like a lot of this stuff ain't taught in school anymore. So uh, not all the kids really care that whole lot about it, but a few of them really do, and those are the ones that you got to support them. So yeah, we have a lot of fun.
That's awesome to hear, bro. Especially them youngins getting involved in it, and
Mm-hmm.
that, like I said, them being able to actually be able to physically touch what was part of our American history
Mm-hmm.
on that end, and the sacrifices made during that. I know you don't get into detail and all that kind of stuff with them, but just them being able to bring that part of history to life in their little old world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
But
it's pretty neat.
well, yeah, good to see you, Philip. Good to see you coming in.
Hello, hello.
Hey,
Hey guys.
so
Hey, Keith.
you're talking about history and stuff, man. It's getting to be harder and harder to know what our history is because they keep removing all these statues all over the place. You know, just because they were a
Yeah,
Confederate officer or something, and they don't get a chance to touch the equipment like Keith does. Playing it. I remember being part when I was younger. Air shows they'd have the C-51 bombers and stuff like that. Planes. I mean, all of them. You walk through them, the helicopters, check them out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was fun.
Yeah, yeah. The kids, I tried to take them through, um, tell them what the vehicle is used for. It started out it was just armor support, carrying infantry in support of armor divisions. They needed something that could go anywhere a tank could go, and carry some troops. And the half track's what they came up with for that. Then they figured out they could put some guns on it and do some damage while they were carrying troops around. So then they modified them all kinds of different ways. But just explaining to them what a tracked vehicle, what that does for you, why tracks are good. Um, but yeah, they want to sit behind the steering wheel, and I leave the battery turned off so they can't blow the horn and drive everybody crazy. But uh, they uh, they seem to have a lot of fun.
You were talking about them old air shows and stuff, Ed. They used to the old Brooklyn Field was a World War II base down here, and they closed it down. I think it was around the 1960s, 70s, something along those lines. They shut it down, but used to they would bring in and they'd have the old air shows, them old. I couldn't tell you the planes' names, but it was them old prop planes that they used back during World War II and all. And one year they had one, and I think it's still in operation today, as far as flight and going to the air shows. But they named her Fifi,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and we had looked up that one year, and the whole original crew had come and been a part of that aircraft at the show. And somewhere around here, I'll shoot you some pictures, Keith. Anybody else interested in checking it out? But I was a little bitty fella. I was probably maybe 8 or 9 years old. But I was able to get every man's autograph of that aircraft, where he was, whether he was tail gunner, pilot, co-pilot, side gunner, whatever you want to call them there. I'm sorry if I said it wrong, gentlemen in the military, but everybody's position in that aircraft, they had put their name on that picture there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe Fifi, that was a big B-29 Super Fortress, wasn't it? Big silver plane.
Yes, sir. That's just a big silver plane.
Yep. Yeah.
The way you described it sounded like a Super Fortress.
Yeah. 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 Did you get to climb around inside of it?
Oh, yes, sir. The only thing we couldn't do, and we couldn't afford it, was they would take people on a flight at certain times. You could go up, and I think they do like a 20-minute flight around the area right there and do 2 or 3 of them. But that was the only thing we wasn't able to do. But yes, sir, I went and got in that tail gunner and the whole everything.
And it had a tube that you crawled through over the bomb bay. Do you remember that?
Well, all I remember is going through a whole bunch of metal and little bitty holes to get there.
Yeah. 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 That old machinery is amazing. How they designed it, built it, what it did. It was an amazing generation.
Yes, sir. Won't see no more like that, unfortunately, that kind of thing, for us. Just that era of military, I reckon. And I sure don't want to beat down our military by any means, but it in a lot of ways, it ain't what it used to be. And I imagine there's folks that agree with that as well. But definitely
our military didn't make nothing small. Nothing small. It was all big, heavy duty. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff like the half track. They made it so farm boys could work on it. My dad was in World War II. He was drafted out of high school. He was a senior in high school when he got drafted. So a lot of the equipment that the military made on the U.S. side, it was heavy, and it was big wrenches to work on it, but it wasn't complicated. And that's what we had. The Germans made everything way too complicated, and they couldn't fix it when it broke in the field. So, but the American stuff, it was easy to work on. And that half track, there's a lot of really heavy stuff on it, but there's nothing really complicated on it. So that was a big advantage.
Well, they had to make things to where we got to fix it now,
Yep.
and,
Yep.
and not be lollygagging around waiting on somebody to bring me a certain part or be able to get to a certain area without said tools.
Yep. Yep. Fix it in the field without having to haul it back somewhere.
Yeah. Well, Ed, how's your daddy doing since we got you here?
Yeah, he's actually he's doing better, but he was in the hospital originally because they went in. He's having a shortness of breath, and what it was he had pneumonia. He's already had a bad heart, and they replaced the pacemaker and put a newer one in because the batteries were about gone in it. Then after that, he got pneumonia, and then while he was in, they realized his kidneys were only running about 15%. He went like 15 to 17, somewhere in there, and they said what was happening is they were treating him for the pneumonia, getting him better, but his heart is what they call pacing. I'm assuming that's uh, the pacemaker is just keeping the heart going, and we talked about well, do you need kidney transplant or something like that. And he said, son, I'm 80 years old. I said, I'm past prime. They wouldn't want to give me one, and you know then my heart's bad, so I may not make it through an operation like that. So we got him down to finally talked him into getting a type of dialysis. It's called I forgot what it's called. You don't go sit on a table. What it is, they implant a semi-permeable pouch inside your abdomen, and they go in. They fill it with a chemical, and you go about your day. And during that day, I guess it absorbs the toxins in your body, and then at night you hook up to a machine to filter that out. So that's where we're at. But he actually, I hit that door last Saturday, and he looked like death warmed over when I walked in the house.
Mm.
And then by the time I left, he was actually getting around, doing pretty good. We'd gone through, I think my showing up too did help his morale. He had poor morale because of all of it, and you know,
Yeah,
you just let him know. Well, he knows he's prepared to go if he has to, but he's not wanting to.
well, that's gonna be all of us one day. Yeah, not downplaying anything by any means, but we know the Lord's gonna call us home, but we sure don't want to leave at the same time, kind of thing.
Yep.
Well, Philip, how about you on your end there?
Oh, I'm doing really good. I got into my bees here at the house today, or yesterday and today. But the bees are doing fantastic. As a matter of fact, I always said I would never complain about picking up heavy honey supers. So I'm going to try not to complain about having too many bees, but I'm a little worried about what I'm going to do because there's no weak hives to give the bees the brood and stuff to. So they're unbelievably strong. I think I got into 6 out of 7 colonies. One of them's on some small frames. I got to get them converted. But what what I really enjoyed was my mentee came over both days and helped me with the bees, and it was experiencing that with her for the first time was really cool because she was just blown away by the bees and going into them. That was a lot of fun. So
That was her first time in a hive.
it was her first time to do. She had helped me like give an OA treatment, and I called her over to show her a dead out I had, in the late fall, and it was the first time where we pulled frames out and talked about brood and what was what and all that. Yeah, she was really, really, really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And she even, it's like, what can I help? Going to help you with? And she was helping me put together, set up the supers and clean up stuff and put fishing line in frames. Yeah, she's really helpful. So
Yeah, that's
and,
great to hear.
and I was when you get into that program, they advise you just to just be a friend. sometimes people want to talk about their experiences and some they don't. But she talked a lot about not necessarily. She didn't have combat experience, but she's been working with veterans pretty much since she got out of the military. So she has a whole lot of stories of different people and a lot of great stories. So maybe one day we can get her on and talk about some stuff. So it was really
There we
cool.
go. Yeah. But
But
Keith,
yeah, go
Keith,
ahead.
you were saying you in the Hives for Heroes program too?
Yeah, yeah. I got assigned a newbie. I guess late last fall. He was a Marine. He only lives about 15 minutes from me, so it works out pretty good. He's not available during the week. We can only work on the weekends. But we actually got to get in some hives last fall before we put him to bed. So he got to get his hands on some frames and show him some brood and go through the pieces parts of everything. And then you shut him down for the winter, so he's been chomping at the bit, wanting to get back into him.
I bet.
I've had him up here. He hadn't made it on a day when I had the hives open yet. Hopefully, maybe next Saturday I can get him up here. But he did come up one rainy day, and we kind of went through what all had transpired during the winter, what I had done, OA treatments, the equipment that I had built, the plans I had for this year. Just kind of went through how I'm hoping things work out this year that he'll be a part of. So yeah, hopefully next Saturday. If I can see some more drones on the landing board, I wouldn't be afraid of doing a few splits. But I'm just not seeing any yet, and I'm a little leery. But yeah, he's a great guy, good attitude. Very gun ho about the whole beekeeping thing. Already bought his safety gear, smokers, hive tool, got all this stuff.
All right.
So he's wanting to. I think the guidelines don't want you to provide bees until maybe after the first year. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to hold him off that long or not.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you're going to have caught swarms and a lot of splits because you said you didn't want to grow. So
Yeah,
you're gonna be wanting to move some bees anyway.
yeah. I might keep him and get him through swarm season before he gets them. But
Right.
as long as he proves to me he knows what he's doing, he can get in a hive. He knows what he's looking at. And like I said, I'm not but 15 minutes away. If I need to run down and help, that'll work too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a great program. I got matched up really quick with him, so the program worked out really good for me. I got no complaints at all.
I had the opposite experience. I didn't get matched up for like a year because, well, they matched me up after about 6 months, but they matched me up with somebody else who signed up to be a mentor. And then, so I thought we had that straightened out, and then nothing happened. And then I met Rachel, who's my mentee. She was actually at the farmer's market telling me she was waiting to get signed up with somebody. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. We live in the same town.
Hmm.
That should have been automatic. And, so I contacted Charlie over at House for Heroes, and Charlie called me within just a few minutes of me sending the email and said, "Oh man, Philip, I went back and looked at the emails, and you're right, I've screwed that up." He matched us up, and then we've been off and running. So,
Okay, good deal. Good
yeah,
deal.
I was talking to Rachel. She's got a lot of stories about how God's intervened in her life, and she's like, "Yeah, sometimes that's the way things are meant to be."
Hmm.
Just
Yeah,
held you off long enough for her to come along, join the program. So she
yeah.
actually has. What's funny is I don't have Steve Jimenez's. Steve Jimenez is the founder of House for Heroes.
Hmm.
I don't have his cell phone number, but I have his girlfriend's. That's who I was working out. That's who I was working out everything with when I went to Nobby or the expo, and so Rachel goes, "Well, send our picture to Steve." And I was like, "I don't have his number, Rachel." She goes, "I got it." So she sent him a little video and a picture of us
That's
together.
funny. That's funny. Yeah, my newbie, his name is Elliot. Uh, and he's wanting to get his son involved also. He's already bought his son a suit. So
That's cool.
I might have bought one, got one free on the House for Heroes thing, which that's fine. That's fine. I got no problem with that.
That's cool.
But yeah,
Yeah.
he'll be a good one. He'll be a like I said earlier. Some of the folks that I'm helping, uh, they don't uh, they don't want to get in the hives as much as they might need to. I don't think that'll be a problem with him. He'll want to be in there. He might want to be in there more than he should be.
Yeah, she was pretty excited to get in there.
Mm.
Uh, but she had a little bit of a reaction. She got her first sting when we were doing those OA treatments, and she had a reaction. It was a delayed reaction. It took like 2 days before she started
Wow.
having problems. And she actually went to the doctor, and they told her that they said sometimes that happens. She's also got some issues that some like autoimmune issues, so they think that's what triggered it.
Mm.
And they were saying, if you maybe taken Benadryl or something right away, it might have headed it off. But
Mm.
we locked her down pretty good. I put her in my full 3-layer vented suit and put gloves on, the goat skin gloves and all that. So she didn't get
Mm.
stung at all. I got stung up pretty good, but that's normal for me.
Yeah.
I didn't swell very much
Mm.
this time. Last weekend, well, I got the hell stung out of me when I was crawling under that trailer. But so I've got superpowers now, I think.
It's great. We're hearing more and more people getting involved into the hives for heroes. It seems like the more we picking up on these chats, that they several folks either looking to or already have a mentee,
Mm.
and the conversations that are coming from them are just a blessing.
Yeah.
It's just opening it up a better world for our first responders and military men and women.
Yeah. Hey Tim, I've got a little bit of an update on her friend Deanna Wheeler, who's on the prayer list. She
Hmm.
said that now Deanna's also a veteran. I think she was also in the Marine Corps, but she had some kind of a intestinal tumor, and she finally found a doctor, and they got that removed. She's not on the feeding tubes anymore. She does have some drains in her abdomen, but she's doing way better than she was before. So we want to keep her on the
Awesome.
prayer list, but it's working. So you guys keep it up.
Let's see. Robert won't know anyone under super in the early spring.
Well, I just put on one super on some of the colonies, and but I did something a little different this year that I hadn't done. I'm trying to move towards single brood chamber management, and but to really do that properly, I think you need to have a deep to put on top of them to get them through the swarm season, and then pull that off, and so that's what I did was I took the very little bit. I didn't have any losses, so I didn't have much deep comb. So I think I did have that one loss. So I put like 3 drone combs, and I pulled up two things of brood, which you guys go ahead and yell at me, but it's pretty warm down here. We don't have to worry too much about splitting the brood. 2 things of brood, and dropped in 2 foundationless frames right where they came out of, because that's the ones they'll have those drawn out in a week.
Mm.
But uh, I pulled those up, and I put a deep, and a couple of them I didn't have any drawn comb, so I just did that with just empty frames.
Mhm.
So that's my first step, Robert, is to try to get them to draw out and put some resources in a second deep, so I can do proper splits and not have them have something to work with basically.
Mhm.
And I did put a super on one that I didn't, and I think I don't know that I put it on there necessarily to get anything, but I put it on there so the wax moths will stay out of there,
Mhm.
let the bees protect them. But I've still got a bunch of supers to put on.
Yeah, I added a super before I left um, to go to Texas because the numbers were high, but they weren't going to swarm because I already split the box. But the numbers were still high, so I threw the super on top. It is already had wax foundation and everything on and built on it. So I come back and they're working on three of those frames, filling it with nectar already.
That's
So
good. Yeah. Hey, redfish, I Okay, I checked 6 colonies, and the well, Mo's getting after the burglars out there. My, it's probably my daughter. Probably my daughter and wife are back, or either there's a cat. Hey Mo, hold on. Let me settle him down. You guys talk about something else. Let me get this dog. Y'all know if y'all can y'all hear him through my mic barking. He's going
Yeah, it
crazy.
sounds like he's tearing the house down.
Hang on.
Well,
Yeah.
it sounds like we all going Lord willing coming off into a good season. Keith, you talking about you brooding up good. The only thing you're not really seeing a whole bunch of yet is drones.
Mhm.
Ed, from what we've talked about, you've pretty well kept drones since I don't know spring. You know, you pretty well going coming into winter with some. You started your tearing off split, and our little colonies we got out there right now. That nuke we got, checking on her earlier, she had let's see, look at seven seven of her 10 frames were slabs. I'm talking good slabs of worker brood. Then little Valentine over there, she's pretty well doing the same thing, but we are starting to see them pick up a little bit more on the drone activity.
So yeah. All right. Yeah, I let him go. I let Mo go outside and see there wasn't anything there, whatever it was, run off. So, uh, but redfish, I had 2 colonies that were really light. They had tons of bees, tons of brood, and all that. But so what I did with those is I went ahead and put the deep on there, pulled up a couple of frames, and then I fed them. I've got a gallon of thin syrup on those 2 colonies, and the rest had plenty of store. So those are the ones I put the honey supers on, were the ones that had plenty of stores already.
I put some I put some syrup on 10 of my hives probably a couple of weeks ago, uh, just to draw comb. I always like to put some heavy wax foundation on the hives before the flow starts. Put a little syrup on them and see if you can draw a few frames before you pull all that off and put your supers on. And of course, some hives are doing gangbusters and some haven't done a whole lot. But
Right.
the the more drawn comb you get, the better. So it's a good time to try that anyway. Um,
Yeah. The first one I went into it because I was worried that it was crashing because I know the queen's old. She's at least 2 years old, and they had a high mite load at one point last year. And I noticed that they looked like they were on just a few frames on one side, but we opened it up and they were bursting with bees, and they were the whole. They have a medium on there that's completely full of honey, wall to wall, and they had 2 or 3 frames. I started to think they were honey bound, but the area she had in there is completely laid up. But I didn't do anything to them except put a honey super on them because I kind of want her to draw out some swarm cells because I'd like to harvest those because I want to breed off of her anyway. They're super gentle bees is the reason for that.
yeah. Now I do I do run all mediums in my operation, so
Oh,
that's
do you?
probably a little bit different than most of y'all. Um, that's kind of the way I've done it from the beginning, and I don't know any better. So it works out really good for me. It makes my life simpler. Moving boxes around, making boxes, frames, everything's one size fits all. So that part's really nice. But I have rotated some boxes on a few of my hives when the bottom box was basically empty when everybody had moved up over the
Right.
winter. Um, my supers, I'll probably put supers on maybe in a couple of weeks. Is kind of what I'm looking at. It might be a little bit before then. Pull the sugar off, pull all the what they've drawn, and they always put a little bit of syrup up in the comb that they draw. So pull all that mess off and put the fresh supers on and turn them loose. But I've been doing. There's a fella named Greg Rogers up in Asheville. Bob
Right.
Benny's done some videos with Greg,
Mhm.
And one thing he mentioned on one of his videos I'm trying this year that he said it worked really good for him was what he called spreading the brood, where when you there were certain rules you follow, but basically if you go into a box and you've got 4 brood frames, take them, pull them apart, and put a drawn comb in the middle, 2 on each side.
Mhm.
And then you do that same process over and over. And every time you do that, it kind of pulls the hive back a bit. The queen all of a sudden is like, oh Lord, I've got, where did this space come from? I've got something to do now. And, next time you go in, there might be five brood frames. Well, then you can make it 3 and 2, pull them apart and put another drawn comb in the middle. And,
Does that
you,
work? Does that work with foundation or?
I think you need to use drawn comb with it.
Yeah, I don't have it, so
Yeah,
I don't have
yeah,
that option.
that's something I haven't had in abundance. Well, I won't say in abundance, but this year
I'm at
I've
a
got
deficit.
quite a bit of it. Last year I didn't, but I fed a lot of syrup last year and did some things just to make comb. And I think I've not got a huge operation, but I've got close to 30 supers of drawn comb
That's
ready for
good.
this year.
That's
But
nice.
but I'm going to try that because when I went in to try to equalize some of my hives, gosh, they were all strong. There wasn't anywhere. If I pulled brood out, I didn't have anywhere to put it. So his idea, you're not really pulling brood.
Right.
You're just managing the brood you got and making the queen think suddenly she's got more space there. And you can continue that process, especially until I get to the point where I feel better about making some splits. Hopefully, this will um, keep them calmed down for a while. And I haven't seen any swarm cells in any of my hives yet. So
Yeah.
if I can just keep it that way.
Did you see drones in your colonies?
I saw drones in the hives, but today was the first day I'd seen a drone outside the hive. I saw 2 or 3 on one particular hive on the landing board fly away.
Hmm.
So really very few drones right now. So I don't feel real good about doing splits until I see more drones.
I saw a few. I didn't see a lot, but I saw a ton of drone brood, and I saw a good bit of drones emerging.
Mm,
So I think I got like 2 weeks, and it's going to be game
yeah,
on.
yeah,
And
I've
that's
had, I've had,
2 weeks ahead of schedule for sure.
I've,
yeah.
I've had 2 return mated queens already.
Wow.
Heard
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I was
We
checking
haven't.
that today.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you timed it right, what does a queen take? 16 days. And then she lollygags around a couple of days before she goes on her mating flight. So,
Yeah, I think yeah.
if you did a split today, a walk away, and they started making a queen, you're still almost 3 weeks out. So I
Yeah,
guess if you were a betting man, there should be more drones in 3 weeks. So I guess you could go ahead and do it now, and things would time out pretty well. But I'd still,
I think the drones have to be emerged for like 5 or 7
yeah,
days before
they've got to mature before
mature. I
they
saw a
can.
lot. I saw a lot more of the drones were kind of fuzzy, like newly emerged.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Young
think they
young one.
have to be, if they emerge by the time the queen cell's capped, that gives them a week. And by the time she's ready to fly, they're probably at the right age.
hmm
Yeah, I
So
would not have. I think I would have been okay if I had stopped and done splits, but I just wasn't ready to do that.
yeah, yeah,
And I, it
and
may I
people
may
told me I was crazy.
well you are. We know that, Dad. All of us that know you.
yeah. It
I
might
was,
force
I
my
was,
hand.
I was,
I think
I
we.
was splitting the end of January.
Wow. Yeah, I think we got temperatures in the 70s the next 2 or 3 days. So and then we got some rain and then some more sunshine. So it might force my hand before I wanted to do it. But those folks that I'm helping, I've got 3 people with one hive that want to have 2 hives, and I got one fella that's got 2 hives that don't want any more. And probably the fella that's got 2 hives that don't want any more, that's going to be more trouble than
Oh, it
than
absolutely
the,
is.
Mhm.
than the ones that have one that want more than one.
That's impossible.
So
Seems like to me. Yeah.
so yeah, I've already had some pull some brood out of his to slow him down a little bit. Um, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, that's not, my options are limited here. So I need to slow him down. It's too early. So
I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know if Rodney Middleton is still here, but what is your swarm count right now, Rodney? About 28, 30 on your swarm count already?
golly.
now where is he at?
Shit.
One of y'all know where Rodney's at out there?
Well, Chris is another one that keeps catching a lot of swarms too in South Carolina.
I mean, I'm just joking on them numbers, so y'all don't take me serious. But anybody that knows Rodney knows that dude just has astronomical amounts as far as swarm catching. I mean, it, he kills them swarms as far as getting out there and getting them puppies.
So he's in North Carolina, according to Joseph.
Is that who had all the swarms? That his place is near a commercial beekeeper, and he just has. There was somebody that was on that had those.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a 43. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I had a lot, but I didn't have nothing like that.
Yeah, I had 18 last year. Now that were caught in a box. I only had one that got out of a tree.
Yeah,
I have a
mine.
hard time keeping up with 12 shoots hives.
Yeah, mine were. I call them my self-splitting hives. My shop up where the half track stays is there's about 10 hives right there at the shop. So I'd be in there working in the shop, and then you hear the noise. All of y'all
Yeah,
know that noise. Sound
yeah.
like a jet taking off, and then they're like, oh Lord, which one is it? And I had so many. I had my little. I've got one of those little wagons, the big heavy duty wagon like you can get at a Tractor Supply or Harbor Freight or whatever. I had it loaded with all my swarm stuff, boxes, and everything that I needed. I was like put on my little fireman's hat and my little siren, and here we go, and try to get them out of the air into a box.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess our good years, we 8 or 10 maybe, but here in Rodney, just constantly bam, bam, bam.
Wow.
Now he's catching his in swarm traps that are placed around his area.
I believe so. I think he's got some around there, around his yard, and kind of goes up to different areas as well. And I mean, he's just got prime location, I reckon, wherever he's got them babies set up.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't really want to split is because I know I'm probably going to catch a lot of swarms too. So where am I going to put all these bees? And I'm trying to grow, but I'm really far behind. I was out there this weekend cutting boxes, cutting up plywood to make boxes. I'm ready to make about 35 new boxes, or actually, yeah, more than something like that.
Yeah, I made 3 trips to the. I get a lot of my stuff from Miller Bee Supply up in North Wilkesboro, not too far from me. I made 3 trips up there to get stuff after I thought I had plenty. So, yeah, I don't want to do that again this year. Keep them in the box.
Well, I do a lot of my shopping in the. You go in the back of Home Depot where they have the wood that's 70% off, the painted stuff.
Mm.
And I picked up on, I think it was Friday. I picked up 5 2x4s, a 2x8 by. The one was 2x8 by 10, one was 2x8 by 12, and I picked up a 2x10 by 10 or 12. And those 2x8s had been cut. That's the reason I guess they were marked down. But I got all of that for $13.
It's a good deal.
Yes, sir. Pastor Larry had sent me a little gift certificate thing for our birthday, and told Hannah, I said, "Look, we're gonna go get some 1x12. We're gonna make a nuke or two out of it." And the only 1x12 I could find in the big department store there, just an 8-footer, was $24.
Hmm. Yeah, you need to go back there and shop in that. They used to. I don't know if they do it anymore, but if they had a little cut piece of plywood back there, they used to would give it to you because they didn't have any way to price it. But I haven't asked them about plywood in a while. I have all that free plywood that a guy gave me, so I'm not really in need of it.
Dude, Robert got a good deal going on too.
That's
54. What thickness is that, Robert?
Mm.
That's a heck of a
that's a
price.
killer deal.
Yes, sir. Ain't that the
Yeah,
truth?
I had some plywood shot up so high. When it came back down, I caught it at like $33 a sheet for 3/4. They call it RDX or something like that. It's an exterior sheathing, and I bought 10 sheets of that, and I'm still using that because somebody gave me the other. Gave me a bunch of 1 foot wide by 8 foot long pieces.
Saying 3/8 or
3/8.
7/16.
Okay, yeah, he's using that for his swarm traps, I assume. That's still a good price.
Mm-hmm.
54 sheets keep you good and busy too.
Yeah, $2 a sheet. I don't know where he got that.
He probably ain't gonna tell either.
that's black market.
Yes, sir. He said, nah.
Oh, he said Facebook Marketplace. Yeah,
Hmm.
so somebody was just trying to. It was either stolen or somebody's just trying to get rid of it out of their yard, out of their shop.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nothing nose around.
I build a lot of my nukes out of 3/8.
Mm-hmm.
We got a sheet of, I don't know, it's a little more than half of some half-inch Luan we had done off a job the other week. And I think it was Mr. Larry Salter over with our neighbor here in Mississippi. He was talking about using that Luan, making nukes and swarm traps and all. He said it worked out pretty good for him, as long as you paint it up. And we had already painted both sides of it. So we drug that puppy onto the house, and we're going I think we might be able to get a good 3 of them out of it between bottoms and lids and all that good stuff on top of that that piece of 1x
Yeah,
from Pastor Larry and them.
I use quite a bit of that 5 millimeter Luan, and it works pretty good as long as you seal the edges of it. If you don't seal the edges of it, it starts peeling. So make sure you figure out a way to seal the edges of it. Water will get in there and it'll start coming to pieces on you. But I use that in my inner covers. But I have a rabbited or a dadoed, solid wood border all the way around it, and then caulk it and paint it and all that.
We're gonna make a run at it. At least get some. I'd like to get about 5 or 6 good swarm traps up. Then once they go to drawing out these queen cells for swarm season, we really anxious to try these little old mating nukes there and see how that turns out. It may be a complete fail, or it may do good. The only thing is, I don't know if any of y'all has ever fooled with them, but whenever you get them girls good and strong in that little old mating nuke, and you're transferring them over into, say, a 3 or 5 frame, how are y'all doing that?
So
Are you? Go ahead.
what kind of frame do you have them on inside that mating nuke?
We just bought some of them little bamboo skewers,
Oh, okay.
and I doubled them up, and we're gonna, we'll dip them in a little bit of wax, so they'll have that to draw out on. But where I was trying to figure out is whenever they draw it out, because I think it's a little 8x8 by, I think it's 8x8 on the inside of those little coolers.
I think you're going to have to just treat it like a cutout and then rubber band them into some open frames.
Okay.
I think that's going to be your best bet. Unless somebody else has another idea. And that's better. I mean, I actually was working with a mini queen system, but I'm going to abandon it this year. It's just too much trouble to try to convert them into full size boxes. And I actually had a way where I could stick them in more or less regular frames and stick them in a colony. But even after that, I'm like, man, I can do a 3x3 frame mating nuke that's in kind of a regular box. And I can just pull one of those out and make a nuke out of it. And then I can pull the divider out and let the other one move into that side. It's just way too easy to do it with regular frames, in my opinion.
Well, those little deals there, we had stopped at a little yard sale, and they had 7 of them boxes sitting out there. And I was at it. It's just them little styrofoam. I guess they throw medical stuff or whatever it is they put in them things. But I asked a woman, I said, "What you want for them?" And when she told me $1 a piece, I just seen, nukes or something out of it. So I throwed every one of them puppies in the truck and headed on home with them. So
yeah, most people that use those mini mating nukes are selling queens. That's the reason they like those. They're not even thinking about moving them into nukes or regular hives. They're just making queens and selling them. Just about anybody that does that, because that same reason you pointed out is they outgrow those things so quick. If you don't pull that queen out and make them restart, they're going to swarm on you. But yeah, it'll be cool. Make sure you video it.
We're going to do it. We're just trying to, I guess, get the yard built up. And Hannah, last year we set a goal, but we're going as, like Hannah was saying, coming into the year, we're not going to so much set the goal. We're just going to go with whatever the good Lord gives us. But we most definitely want to try to get the number back up to where we were. I mean, last year coming into spring, we had those 11 colonies. They was doing good. The beetles got them. We're down to the 2 now out of all that. But in the years past, it wasn't no problem for us to be sitting at 18 or 20 and just kind of hold off from there. But we'll see how the season runs.
Did you get nuke? You got some nukes, didn't you? Late.
We got that one little nuke at the end of, or close to the end of October. Mm-hmm. And we were going to try to get a couple more during that, but plans didn't go quite as planned. So she's still sitting out there, and buddy, she's getting it.
Yeah, they seem to do better in small boxes for some reason.
Yeah, I agree. Nukes are pretty amazing. How little attention they actually need and how fast they'll grow. And I've got I think I've got 4 nukes right now, anywhere from 1 high to 4 hive, or 4 high, not 4 hive. But that's kind of who is it that talks about the nukes being the brood factories? What's the fella's name up in Vermont?
Yeah. Michael
Palmer.
Palmer, yeah.
Yeah. Now I've never used them to that extent. I always kind of count my nukes. I call them, that's my spare parts. If I lose a queen or need a frame of brood or whatever, I can go to my nukes and get that. And man, they just bounce right back, and it's like they never missed it. Even with a queen, they'll, it's like, no problem, we'll make another one. Yeah, and here they go.
Yeah, Michael Palmer literally runs about one nuke per production colony.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
has
it
like
was
200
crazy.
of each or something like that.
Yeah, that speech he made, he was talking about he pulled, gosh, it was over 1,000 frames of brood that he pulled out of his nukes.
Mm,
Um,
yep,
just a crazy number.
yep.
So, but yeah, nukes. They're like you say, bees seem to like the little small cavities going straight up. Because we know they don't mess around. The outside frames a whole lot in a 10 frame
No,
box.
no, you
You
got to.
rare you rarely see anything out there.
That's why I'm always moving them to the middle.
Yep.
People always say don't split the brood now. I'm like, the hell with that. That worked for me.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Robert,
get.
Get
we
busy.
do from time to time, but if we doing anything, say a lot of work we do is just repair on whether home, unless we have to match up with OSB. Oftentimes, it don't matter if roof decking. I'll I'll go get CDX and try to stay away from that OSB if I can. But yeah, we do get cutoffs and different things off that uh, CDX. I mean off the OSB, but I try to push more going toward the CDX. And Jeremy, yes, sir, we do. We have watermelon patches all around the place around here. Okay, and you saying that hive beetles love them,
Hmm.
Mm,
but yeah, that could be another issue as well.
I must be part hive beetle. I love watermelon too.
So
That's
they
one thing. When you guys got to talking about small hive beetles earlier, I just realized I hadn't even thought about it. We didn't see one single hive beetle in 2 days in my colonies, and I usually see, a few, like
Hmm.
2 or 3 per colony, but we didn't see any. And I kind of like, gosh, it'd been nice to show her a hive beetle, so she'd know what one looked like.
Hmm.
But we didn't even see one. I didn't even think anything about it until you guys got to talking about it.
Yeah, that's a good
we
problem to have.
Yeah, it is. And
yes sir.
You show your picture on the internet.
exactly.
We starting to we gotten out there earlier and thinking around well with the nuke and just trying to get her some more room in that horizontal hive. So I took that divider out, put 10 more frames in there for her in that bunch. But when we had rolled back the slats on it, there was about 8 or 10 beetles. So they're starting to show themselves. So we're going through now and hitting them again with the peppermint extract and that eucalyptus mix to go ahead and get ahead of the game. But I think it was Keith, you was talking earlier about getting the grub X. That reminded me I need to go on and start getting that ground treated and ready as well.
So, hey Tim, I got on here like started watching like 7:15 or 7:20. Did you? Is there something going on with Hannah that you covered early on? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, that hiatal hernia is
Oh,
giving her
acting up. Okay.
fits, and she's in there resting up this evening.
All right, that's good.
Laura willing, she'll get to feeling better in the next couple of days, and uh, she'll be back, like I say, Laura willing, Sunday on the next run. And
You done done pretty good by yourself tonight.
hey, I appreciate y'all coming in too. And Keith, like I said, I'm not going to get into detail on everything, but God love you, Keith. We was kind of juggling this and juggling that back and forth, and I call him up, say, "Okay, are you good for this day?" Yeah, Tim, that's good for me. Then I'd have to call him back, say, "Man, look,
Good.
something done went afoul, so can you switch around?" And but thankfully, you wrote it out with me, brother, and appreciate you on that end.
Oh, no problem. This has been fun.
Yeah, and I like Keith's Jeep more than I do his half track.
Yeah, that Jeep. Daddy bought that. It's a '55 M38A1, and Daddy bought it back in 1969 from a local fire department. That was back when they might still have it. I'm not sure, but they had a deal where schools and fire departments could buy old military surplus stuff. They could keep it for a short period, and then they could sell it and keep the money. Keep the profits. So it was kind of a money making thing for the fire departments and schools. But I remember going with Daddy to pick that thing up in '69, and he kind of restored it, but he put it back like a CJ5. He
Hmm.
kind of demilitarized it. He
Right.
put fat tires on it, put a roll bar in it, uh, took off some of the blackout lights. He kept the 24-volt system. Never did away with that. But and then that's how I drove it. Me and my buddies had a lot of big adventures in that Jeep back when I was in high school and was indestructible. We were jumping stuff before Dukes of Hazzard came along. So it was kind of funny when I restored it. I found a lot of stuff that I broke back in the '70s. Um, you know,
I did that, right?
yeah, all it was funny. All the leaf springs were busted in it. There was a bunch of mud up under the dash. I remember that was where I got it stuck in a creek one time, and we had to abandon ship and go find a farmer with a tractor to pull us out. Um, but yeah, lots of good times in the Jeep. So but yeah, it's like I say, it got away from me for a few years, but I was able to buy it back. But it's more family than the half track is.
I'm glad you got it back. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a Jeep, 1999 uh, Jeep Wrangler Sport, and
Mhm.
man, I do anything I can to keep that thing on the road. And
Mhm.
I'm hoping my son will take it one day and keep it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I literally ordered it, and I didn't want cloth seats. I wanted the sport model. I didn't want cloth seats, so I ordered it with vinyl seats and waited for it to come in. And the coolest thing about it is when it came in, you know how you have a window sticker on a car?
Mhm.
They gave me a window sticker and it says at the bottom, made for Philip Morris.
That's cool.
So I'm like, I'll never sell that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cars will come and go, but I'm not selling that thing. I spent about $1,000 on it this year, though, getting it back running it right.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not much for a car, I guess.
Yeah. You can. It's about like spending money on bees, just whatever you want to spend.
Exactly.
So, but
Yeah, I've got a new bumper and little step sides and all that it's behind me here. I got to get around to putting on it.
mhm.
But
Yeah. Yeah, all this old military stuff, it's amazing what you can still find out there. New old stock parts. The
uh,
government, they made a bazillion of everything when they made parts. And a lot of stuff I even got for the half track. Like I said, it was a 41, but I got a lot of brand new parts that were packed like in the early 40s. Um, Cosmoline coated or in wax paper and had had the desiccant bags inside of them to keep the
yeah,
moisture out. And you cut that part open and it'd been packed for 80 years and it'd be a brand new part. Uh, that
yeah.
uh,
Your
that
your Jeep's your Jeep's like mine. It's not going to get stolen because it's got that millennial theft protection.
yeah, the Jeep it's got three gear shifts in it. You got the 3 speed and then you got 4-wheel drive in and out and then high and low. So yeah, you could yeah, and the half track's even worse. It's got more gear shifts than the Jeep does. So yeah, even though they don't have a lot of people are surprised because there's not an ignition key. There's just a switch.
Yeah,
But
that is cool.
if you think about it, the military, if the bad guys are coming, it's really not a good time to say, "Who's got the key to the half track?"
That's right.
You just kind of jump in it and go. So they made it back to our. They made it simple. So, but yeah, Jeeps are a lot of fun, and it's funny. I went to a. You'll probably know what I'm talking about here. I went to one show. Uh, I went somewhere and came back later, and there was a duck in my Jeep. Do you know the deal about the ducks in the Jeep?
No.
The little rubber ducks.
Oh,
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 I've heard of it, but
yeah, it's some kind of thing where Jeep people, if they like somebody else's Jeep, they give them a little rubber duck.
That's cool.
So some people have like their dash is plumb full of little rubber ducks. Well, I didn't know what the rubber duck was for. That
Well,
somebody
yeah,
left
my
me.
neighbor has little rubber ducks in his Jeep window.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
newer one. Okay,
yeah.
that's it, huh?
But yeah, they left me rubber duck. I didn't have a clue what that was. But I was told it
Well,
was a good thing. It was a good
I,
thing.
I will tell you this: I'm annoyed with these high schoolers that have these souped up Jeeps because them son of a guns. I've got to better watch my language. I don't want Tim
Yes, thank you.
fussing at me.
Yeah,
these son of a guns. Well, they won't wave at you like you're supposed to
Mm,
wave at somebody in a Jeep when you meet them.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the younger people have dropped that tradition. It makes me irritated.
yeah.
I'll reach my arm out the window and wave at them to try to retrain them.
Yeah, I reach out the window a lot because I'm usually waving folks around me because I'm going so slow. So yeah, the military stuff don't go real fast on the pavement. The Jeep likes to run about 45. Uh, the half track's happy about 25. So yeah, I'm good at waving folks around me.
Right.
But with the 50 cal in the back of the Jeep, it's funny sometimes folks people won't pass you for some reason. I don't know what the deal is.
A deuce and a half. I don't know what that means. You know what that is, Keith?
Where's that at?
Joseph Rawls said we used to have a deuce and a half at work.
Oh yeah,
mhm.
that was a big World War II truck. They used those on into Vietnam, even
Oh,
Korea. Yeah,
We had took
you'd know
one of
one if
them.
you saw it.
We took one of them puppies and turned it into a woodland truck on the fire department,
Mm.
and we had a 500-gallon tank on that baby, and we piped it out and all kind of stuff. And if you know what they are, you could drive through anything with one of those rascals.
I bet that's those trucks they was always hauling people around in on MASH. They had a bunch of those trucks. Like they had Jeeps too, but they had those
Yeah,
trucks with the
yeah, it could have been.
canvas wrapped over the back usually.
Yeah, and then some of them they made into what they call gun trucks.
Hmm.
You know, they filled up the bed with machine guns and mini guns and all kinds of stuff, and used them to support convoys and different things. So yeah, deuce and a half. That's a pretty classic old truck.
Hey,
Bigger than the half track.
that baby lost its brakes going to a fire, and we was coming in hot. I'm telling you, we was coming in hot, y'all. And the old fella driving that thing, he drove log trucks for a living. He just looked at me and said, "Hold on, Timmy." And he started shifting that baby down. It took us a minute, but he finally got it slowed down enough to where it was safe. But that was a tense moment there for a few minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There wasn't no power brakes on these beasts.
In a winching system, my goodness, the the wire, I guess, for the winches on them joker, but it seemed like you could pull a tank down the road with that joker.
Yeah, the winch on the half track, it's got 5/8 inch cable, and I think it's good for 10 tons, 20,000 pounds. So so between the tracks, and you can engage the front wheels and the winch. If you get stuck, you did something stupid.
Ain't that the truth? One of them jokers. My goodness.
Yeah, can't weigh that much.
Yeah, she weighs about 16,000 pounds.
Really, that's heavy though.
Yeah, yeah.
That is heavy.
All that armor plating, huh?
Yeah, yeah, she was considered light armor. It was a hardened faced 1/4 inch steel. So you know, it would protect you against some of the shrapnel, 30 caliber stuff. Any kind of armor piercing though is going to go through it. So a lot of the guys that rode in the back of those things, they weren't terribly big fans of it because apparently there was it had a bad habit of a bullet coming in one side and then kind of just bouncing around the inside, which that would be kind of bad if you was sitting back there.
Mm-mm.
So, but they did offer some protection. It's a half-inch plate that you can lower over the windshield, so the driver gets a little bit more. So, but yeah, all that stuff is heavy. There wasn't nothing on that thing that was light. I bought a gantry crane that would straddle it, so I could pull it the length of it, and that was my helper. I pretty much did the whole thing by myself, but I couldn't have done it without that gantry crane and my cherry picker. So it was a good project.
And you've got her back to original.
Yeah, pretty much. All of a lot of the parts I bought for the engine, the electrical stuff, it was all brand new, old stock stuff. Generator, voltage regulator, all that stuff was packed back in the 40s and worked like a charm. So I got a few things out of Europe because a lot of the people made a big fuss when we left all that equipment in Afghanistan, but that really wasn't nothing new. World War II, we left a lot of stuff in Europe. So there's more half tracks overseas than there are in the United States because they didn't bring them back. And a lot of the Jeeps and stuff they just dumped in the ocean. But I bought some parts out of Europe. The parts weren't very expensive, but the shipping was kind of tough. So yeah, we didn't do that a whole lot, but we had to on a few items. That's the only place I could find them.
That's crazy that they just dump so much. Shove it out, boys. Let it rip.
Oh yeah, yeah. Not worth bringing it back. Yeah, especially the Jeeps. They were considered expendable or disposable. They break one, they just get another one. So the Jeep we've got, obviously it never went overseas, just like the half track. It was civil defense or something. It wasn't very old when it went to the fire department. So it had a pretty good life before I got a hold of it and beat it up. But she's living a good life now. She's retired, so she's doing fine now.
Yeah, so it's slowing down.
All the broke stuff was fixed, and now she just rides around looking cool.
That's good. Well, fellas, I'm gonna get off of here. It's been enjoyed talking to you guys and everybody in the chats. Look like my wife and daughter got back. They've been in Austin all weekend.
We appreciate you coming in, and yeah, we a little over the 2 hour mark. We'll go ahead and wrap it up ourselves as well.
All right.
But,
Enjoyed it.
yes, sir. Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, had a good time.
Yeah, this was fun.
Good night,
Ed,
guys.
kind of keep us updated on your end, Ed, and same thing with you too, Philip, with the mentee and all. But
We'll do that.
all right, brother. Y'all take care.
Y'all take
And-
care.
All right.
Good night.
Keep them bees under control.
We sure gonna try. Y'all do the same. But we thank everybody for coming in, chit chatting with us this evening. Our members and all, y'all apologize, wasn't able to get to everybody. Like I said, Lord willing, have my helper back with me on next weekend, and we can acknowledge everybody a little bit more. But we do thank y'all, and the next one, y'all take care.
See you later.
All right.